Welcome everyone to Tech in 20. Today we're going to talk about jailbreaking iPhones, and it's a very interesting topic with a lot of interesting facets to it, and we're going to talk about what it is, what the ramifications are, and then what the impact is to the enterprise. And so, as you can see, we've got live polling going on. Some of the answers are left over from the earlier session today. But feel free to answer those, texting your answer to 22333 or going online at pollev.com/tech20 and answering there from any kind of browser, whether it's an Apple or an iPad, Apple, iPad, Android, desktop, whatever. And so today we've got Jeff Brialt, and he's going to talk to us about this. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Clayton. Good day to everyone, and welcome to another round of Tech in 20, where we're going to be covering jailbreaking. So when jailbreaking an iPhone, many people have always asked, what is it? What's the capabilities? What does it mean? Do I have to do it? Things like that. But the bottom line is jailbreaking is a process in which your iDevice, whether that be an iPad, an iPhone, an iPod, even Apple TVs. It's a process that allows these devices to run third-party unsigned code by unlocking the operating system and allowing the user root access. There are a couple different types of jailbreaks that are out there, one of them being called a tethered jailbreak and the other being an untethered or maybe even a semi-tethered solution. With the tethered jailbreak, a computer is needed anytime you reboot your phone or your iDevice. Every time it's rebooted or powered on, the device cannot start up on its own, and it needs to have the computer attached to it. But when you do jailbreak when the device is jailbroken, essentially the kernel is being patched with a piece of code to allow this additional capability to occur. There are some of the Android users have been always saying, well, the Androids are better because we have all these different capabilities already. Some Android devices themselves do not have a locked bootloader. I'm getting the update now that some of them are, some of the newer ones are, but most of the older ones are not, so you can load pretty much any version of the kernel you want. And also the Android devices have the ability to sideload apps, and it's pretty much a common practice without needing root permission. So really it's this third aspect of jailbreaking relating to super user privileges that correlates really to the Android rooting process. In most cases, jailbreaking itself is just a way to extend the capabilities of that device in ways in which Apple does not allow today for whatever reason. There's a few different examples, and we'll cover kind of what that is. And I put in here, this what is jailbreaking, and you can see a lot of folks have seen this to mean that it's hacking. It's not necessarily hacking your particular device. It is a matter of just extending the capability that's there. Now, there are some tools, there are some apps that have been hacked, but that's not necessarily, you're not hacking your actual device. So looking at jailbreaking, what does it actually look like? As you know, Apple has full control over the device, and they have locked it down pretty hard to where you can only run signed Apple applications out of the App Store. This is all great and wonderful, but how many times, for the Apple owners out there thought, I wish I could do X. I wish I can do Y. It'd be nice if I can just make it do something a little different. By jailbreaking your phone, essentially you install an application called Cydia. Within the Cydia application is the means and ways to install new applications, new hacks, new capabilities, new tweaks and things like that within another App Store-like app. So in here, all the different jailbroken capabilities are in this one particular app. There are different data sources that are available, as this is just a API, if you will, to where you can load up pretty much anything. And it gets, you can even have, where myself, I could create my own source, put my own code out there, and allow people to use it, or in some cases even sell it. Some of the apps that are within Cydia do actually cost money because, somebody did take the time to develop a particular tweak or something like that that they wish to be compensated for. You have a choice to pay for it or not, but if you don't get the capability. It's pretty much that straightforward. So one of the main benefits of jailbreaking a particular iDevice, for one, is being able to customize the actual UI. If you take a look at a stock, iPhone in this example, it's pretty bland. Everyone's is the same. The same icons, the same capabilities. The only icon that changes is the calendar. With jailbreak tweaks, you can change so the weather changes, to what the temperature really is, what the actual sun and stuff is doing. You can have the clock actually work with the second hand as well. So it allows you to just basically tweak it out a little bit. Here's an example of a jailbroken iPhone where you can kind of see the different applications. You can see how they can be laid out in a different way. You can see where there's 5 icons across the bottom as opposed to 4. In this case, the weather app here has been updated to show 54 degrees and sunny. So you can kind of get the gist of what's going on. And of course, the backgrounds can be changed like you can on your stock iPhone. But in this example here, you'll see there's no search feature. The little magnifying glass and the slider bar is missing. That's been hidden. You can also hide like your newsstand and apps that you never ever use that you can't delete. So it's just a way, again, of tweaking it out. Some users also will jailbreak their devices to unlock them from the carriers that they're stuck on. So for example, with this AT&T device, maybe I want to put it on T-Mobile or something like that. Without having to go to Apple and requesting an unlock, which currently today is no longer authorized. They are trying to return that capability back. But with some jailbreak code, you could unlock it from AT&T and use it on any other GSM network that supports SIM cards, things like that. You couldn't take a Verizon to AT&T and vice versa, because the Verizon devices are CDMA versus GSM, but I think you get the idea by unlocking there. Some other capabilities that's out there. There are some known hacked applications that are out there. For example, why do I want to spend 99 cents for an app in the App Store, where somebody had purchased it and put a little bit of a tweak in the code so you can install it in any device. There are capabilities like that that are out there. I do not suggest anyone goes and does that because, for one, that's definitely a piracy type issue. At that point, if it was a CA-owned device and you did that, you would be running out of compliance because it is not an authorized piece of software. Whereas if you install a tweak from a particular developer, they're essentially giving you the rights to that code to install on your device, and it is authorized or legal from a law perspective. Although at CA it's not really an acceptable practice to jailbreak your devices. Another neat little tweak here with this particular device here, if you give it a little shake, you can make all the icons dance around and basically float around the screen. So again, just like a little UI type customization, but it's not installing any additional applications. It's not adding any additional overhead. It's just basically you're tweaking up the UI itself. So why do I care? As a CA employee or a user out there, why do I care? Do you have to jailbreak your device? Absolutely not. There's nothing in the world saying that you must jailbreak your device in order to do something to it. You can run it as Apple has designed it in a stock fashion, and and be limited to just those particular capabilities. There are different apps in the App Store themselves that will do similar tweaks, but the case where using Winterboard if you wanted to change your themes is not an option. Although I think I heard that there is a tweak out there that lets you change your icons. It's not the same. All it is changing basically your screenshot, if you will, of your Springboard. One of the other big questions we get is it legal? As of July, in the United States anyway, the act of jailbreaking your phone has been ruled to be legal, although Apple is not very happy with that ruling and they're constantly fighting it. But the fact that you have the capability to, take your device, being able to foster interoperability and add your own software is not a limitation that the U.S. law controls. So with that, Apple has taken that a step further that says, fine, if you jailbreak your device, we're not going to support it and it'll void your warranty. So that's definitely something to think about, if you decided to do this or if you even done it. As far as damaging your device, with any type of tweaking or extending capabilities outside of what the manufacturer has designed it for, you always run into the risk of bricking your phone. Bricking your phone is a term that suggests that a software error has rendered your device completely useless to where it's now a very expensive paperweight. I haven't seen any devices that have been fully bricked, but if you're maybe an amateur at that and you screw up the device pretty bad, you can't fix it, you take it to Apple, they're going to say, have a nice day, we can't help you. But a quick Google search will usually get you out of most, if not every problem that you could ever run into with jailbreaking your devices. There are some bugs and glitches with it. While the iOS itself is pretty much bug-free, I say pretty much because we know it's not 100%, the same does not apply to jailbroken devices. There could be cases where stability is a little less, so you could have some issues there. Some apps may crash or stop working, may consume battery, things like that. It's not going to be perfect, but in most cases, a quick email to a developer who wrote a particular tweak saying, hey, what's going on? Or again, looking in the different communities, there's usually a pretty good fix out there, especially if the tweak is a well-known tweak, such as Winterboard versus, Bob made his own theme loader. I wouldn't trust that too much. Is it reversible? In the case of jailbreaking your device, it is reversible. If you have a good backup of a device, you can restore it back to factory and essentially unload the jailbreak. Because again, all the jailbreak is just a piece of code that's added to the kernel during boot to allow that additional access to the file system. If you do know someone who has jailbroken their devices or something you attempt on your own, just note that any updates, any iOS updates will break the jailbreak. If you update, if you had a 6.1.2 and Apple sends out the new 6.1.3, and the reason they did that was to patch some of the exploits that the jailbreak for 6.1.2 uncovered, you'll be in a position where you won't be able to reload the jailbreak, and you'll be stuck waiting until the next one comes out, things like that. But again, if you did attempt it and it did fail, go back to iTunes, hit the restore button, and it will most likely get you back to factory.
Jeff, I got a quick question. I've got a quick question for you. I've got an iPad 1 that they're not supporting anymore, and way long out of warranty, and it's can't even put in the latest operating system. Is that a candidate for jailbreaking?
Your older devices could be a candidate for jailbreaking depending on what the iOS is that you're running. Now, if you're running a particular iOS that has not been jailbreaked, you'll basically be stuck. When you install an operating system on your iDevices, there is a code or what they call a blob that's essentially an unlock key to allow you to run software, the iOS, on your phone. As new releases of iOS come out, Apple stops signing the old releases of software, so you cannot downgrade. If you're smart enough to archive those blobs, if you will, during the lifetime of your particular iDevice, you could fall back to an operating system that is jailbreakable, but again, it just depends on what version. But the iPad 1 was successfully jailbroken on May 3rd, 2010. It took 3 days for the jailbreaker comics to actually do that for you, but again, it's just going to depend on what iOS is running. So if it's supported, then yeah, you can do it. So that's a good question. When you're looking at the big picture, there's over 10 million plus devices that are already jailbroken. It's not going to be uncommon, especially now with the 612 that was released. Actually, that was pretty recently. That was February 4th. Yeah, February 4th. You may actually see them in the corporate environment, especially if you're demoing CA software and they want the portable view on their mobile device, and they say, hey, I want to be able to bring up, EI or, one of the CA tools, but my phone ain't working right, or it's not displaying, or can you help me set it up? When you take a look at that device, you'll be able to see one that is jailbroken, and it won't necessarily stop the CA software from running, but some of the icons might be in the different places, or the user may have turned off certain features that our apps require, such as a plugin or an accelerator for the web or something like that. So, looking at what does this mean for me at CA? For one, jailbreaking any device or unlocking any device may compromise security. It does open a device into a new world of possibilities, but it does render it susceptible to malicious content such as viruses, malware, and in other apps or other pieces of code that may steal personal information or even damage your devices. Forrester actually did Forbes actually did a study on about 1,500 applications where over 800 of them were downloaded from the official Apple App Store, and about 500 of them was from one of Cydia's default repositories. And would you believe that 21% of the official App Store apps were leaking device information, such as GPS location, device IDs, things like that, back to the application servers? For example, if you're, and this is not one of them, but if you're on the Weather Channel, it would say that, Joe, user of this device ID, access this account, things like that. But, only about 4% of the unofficial apps are the ones out of Cydia actually leak data back. So it should go to show you that the developers that are working on these tweaks, they're not out to steal your information, although the code can definitely exist out there. Their sole purpose was to make the device do something they liked, and they're sharing it out to the rest of the world, almost like a user community. Just know that it's not been officially QA'd or looked at or checked for any type of issues. The other issue that it means for you is it will void your warranty. So any attempt to jailbreak a device will void your warranty with Apple. So if you get that brand new iPhone 5 off of CRM, the first thing you do is jailbreak it. That phone is now yours. It's still CA property, but you break the phone, you lose it. Any issues occur, you're on your own. You'll have to go purchase another one off of eBay or Amazon or something like that. But they can definitely deny you the rights to repairs or if your device is damaged or malfunctioned. So if you do decide to do it, make sure you do a restore before you take it to the Apple Store. Even if with a cracked display, just make sure you do it.
Can we talk just a little bit about what it's going to mean, as far as us and our customers and seeing this in the enterprise now?
Like I mentioned before, if we might see it out there. All of the CA apps are the official CA apps, meaning that they're actually applications you install and not a URL you launch, have gone through the Apple testing program, testing services, and in most cases will work 100% fine with a jailbroken device. So you don't have to really worry about, you know, a user having a jailbroken device and they can't launch the SOI user interface, for example, because all these tweaks do is extend capability. They do not replace. You know, they're not in there hooking particular pieces of code and stealing keystrokes, stuff like that. It's essentially using APIs to enhance the look, feel, and capabilities of your device. And, you know, in jailbreaking devices, although it is frowned upon, I see some things in here saying it's a question of ethics, but believe it or not, about 80% of the tweaks that Apple releases with new devices actually came from the jailbreak community, either capabilities that Apple themselves never thought of or ones that were so popular and so successful in the jailbreaking world, they decided to, you know, make it official, QA, things like that. And one of the biggest ones, believe it or not, is spell checker. The first iPhone 1 back in 2007 didn't have spell checking capability, but somebody in the jailbreaking world created it, and lo and behold, it's now part of standard build. Things like Siri, some of the new capabilities of Siri have been in relation to jailbreaking. Some of the notification center pieces are results of jailbreaking tweaks. Plus, you know, the jailbreakers themselves actually show Apple where there are holes in their code, and of course Apple quickly patches them up and, you know, ultimately makes it even safer. So although Apple's will never endorse them, they're not running scared from them either. You know, they are leveraging the capabilities for their own profit.
Yeah, if we can go now, let's open it up for questions. If anybody's got any questions, go ahead and go with *1 for questions, and then Jeff, if you'll move to the next screen, we'll get let everybody rate this. And so, do we have any questions on the line?
Once again, that's *1 to queue up for questions. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. There are no questions at this time.
Okay, thanks. Jeff, if you'd like to take about a minute and wrap this up and then turn it back over to me, we'll go from there.
Sure. So as you can see, you know, jailbreaking does have its pros and cons. Before you jailbreak your device, help your neighbor jailbreak their device, or, you know, as most of us being the tech people that we are, you know, people may come up to you and ask you, you know, if you you know, decide to do this or not, but you just need to weigh the advantages and benefits. You know, you have the ability to maximize the potential of your device through jailbreaking, or if you're perfectly happy with what Apple has to offer, then don't do it. We're not saying or suggesting that anyone goes out and does it, but I don't know about you, but I get phone calls all the time from you know, fellow friends that says, hey, can I do this? Have you ever done this? What do you think of it? Being a technical person that you are, hopefully you have a little bit more insight to what jailbreaking is, the capabilities, and why some people find it enjoyable to do. So with that,
thanks,
Clayton,
Jeff.
I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting things, and certainly there are some questions associated with it about whether you should and how does this impact the enterprise and with mobile device management and so on. We're certain as we move into mobile device management, we're going to be asked more questions like this as we go and talk to our customers. And it is a hot topic, and certainly one that is important for us to know about. So, Jeff, we really appreciate you taking some time and digging into this and finding out for us what the real straight scoop is, and we appreciate it very much. Our next session next week will be on desktop virtualization and some of the changes and things that are going on in that arena. And so we look forward to having you back again next week, and until then, good selling.